Good evening, friends. My name is Emily Lowan, and I'm running to be your next leader of the BC Green Party. But before I begin, I want to acknowledge that we're here on the stolen territories of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples. I grew up here as an uninvited settler, and over the course of the campaign, our team will be traveling across so-called BC, building reciprocal relationships with First Nations, their lands and waters. We acknowledge the legacy of harm built into the colonial governance system that continues to manifest today, including election periods just like this one. We will continue to use this campaign as a platform to draw attention to ongoing colonial violence and fight for inherent rights, human rights, and a self-determined future for all Indigenous peoples across BC. In the spirit of honoring the land and its people, I'm here to share a vision of love and action with you. I want to tell you a story of despair, of the hope I have in us, and why now is the time to act. Let me begin about 10 years ago. I was 15 years old when I first felt the feeling of my future being actively stolen from me. My high school peers and I were in a Via Rail train car on a train odyssey across Canada, headed towards the capital to visit Parliament Hill. Do you remember where you were when Trump was first elected in 2016? I was in that rail car. Slumped against my friends, just reeling with denial and disbelief. I remember that gut punch of despair and hopelessness. My plans, my ambitions suddenly felt moot and pointless. The stifling confinement of the rail car was unbearable. I put my forehead against the cool glass of the window and just stared out into the blackness. And that suffocating, clattering carriage just kept hurtling us forward. I couldn't stand it anymore. Fuming and unprepared, I started a conversation with my classmates about the potential of young people in the next election. Could we defy the odds and get a tidal wave of young people to get up and vote? To stop the wave of fascism like we just saw in the US? The electricity just coursed through the rail car. And for the first time that night, I began to breathe more easily. I think the election of Donald Trump woke me up to the realization that no one was coming to save us. It sparked something in me, in all of us. And after that train trip, I marched into my principal's office, riddled with anxiety, and asked our school to use the school buses to shuttle all eligible high school voters out to the polls. By choice, I promise. And it would have been years before I could vote myself, but I brought dozens and dozens of my peers to the polls. I think as a young person, I have always seen the compounded crises of our time. The climate crisis, affordability crisis, the housing crisis, the toxic drugs crisis, for what they are: a rigged, ruthless battle for power between billionaires, their vested political interests, and the rest of us, just trying to get by. Since then, I've spent nearly a decade researching and resisting the corporate forces trying to take over our democracy and destroy our planet. I'm proud to say that this work has put me in the crosshairs of the fossil fuel lobby time and time again. I know their playbook, I know their names, and I'm not afraid of them. I've faced off with OPEC executives in Dubai. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith came after me and my colleagues with her $7 million climate attack ad campaign. I know. My friends and I built the largest anti-pipeline banner in Canadian history. And as UVic Student Union Director of Campaigns, I led our school's fossil fuel divestment campaign, and after years of pressure, we won. I've built fierce campaigns and broad coalitions across climate, labor, and Indigenous nations. I never stopped being scared, but I've also never stopped fighting and seeking out the light. I'm here in front of you today because I know my story isn't unique. It's a struggle we all share. I know what it's like to scroll through my phone in bed and feel frozen, to be doing laundry and suddenly think how bad things could actually get. But like my high school classmates and I had to learn, we can shrink despair down to a manageable size by working together in the spirit of hope and radical action. It's always when things are most bleak that these cracks appear. And for a moment, we can actually glimpse another world. I remember the wave of solidarity for Wet'suwet'en land defenders in the winter of 2020, when a plane load of RCMP enforcers, badges covered, faces covered, decked out head to toe in tactical gear, dragged Indigenous women from their cabins on the pipeline route and put them in dog kennels. People erupted. For a few weeks, ordinary people held the line and said, "We do not treat human beings like that. Call off your dogs." In a nation built on corporations hauling raw resources from Indigenous territories, business as usual ground to a halt. Then the pandemic hit, and it was stressful and terrifying. A lot of our most vulnerable community members died. But for a while, people pulled together and made real sacrifices, offering kindness and care to total strangers. And people who had to do essential jobs like stocking grocery shelves got extra pay and were seen as heroes. The people responsible for all of us being in survival mode right now, the oil executives, the politicians, big tech, the billionaires who control our food supply, they're not invincible. They don't live on Mount Olympus. They can't predict the future. They make mistakes, they show their hand. And in the arena of democracy, where every person's vote counts equally, we can still beat them. Together, we can build a home and collective identity worthy of pride, one that respects Indigenous sovereignty and our planetary boundaries, where our needs are met, where we can rest and feel joy and make plans for the future. And this might sound like pie in the sky, but I think the biggest thing that these oligarchs have taken from us is the capacity to imagine a happy future. I believe that the horrors we are witnessing now are the death rattle of the old world. The unbearable pressure is cracking the glass. It is up to us to force a new world through. The province of BC, as it is currently governed by the BC NDP, is governed from a place of scarcity and fear. There is a drought of political imagination, and we see this constantly as the BC NDP doubles down on fossil fuel expansion, rejects the duty to consult meaningfully with Indigenous peoples, ignores calls for Palestinian solidarity, and refuses to care for our community members who've been broken by generations of trauma. We are asked to settle for pathetic reforms, scraps, and traps. What might feel like a moment of just total political despair, hear me out, I now see as a real opportunity, and we can't sit on the sidelines. It's time for a new generation of leadership that has the fire to truly fight for British Columbians. My campaign, Fight the Oligarchs, Fund Our Future, is about directly confronting corporate interests so we're able to invest in a future that works for everyone. Extreme wealth isn't created out of nowhere. It has to be extracted or stolen. The oligarchs and richest corporations that have looted our public coffers and destroyed land from Indigenous nations, they have names and addresses. We need to stop the billionaire wealth hoarding to have the things we need and deserve. That means taxing BC's richest corporations and the 1%, so we can fund 26,000 affordable housing units per year, free public transit, free skills training programs, public health care, nutritious food that people can afford, and tens of thousands of good green jobs. We need to fight these oligarchs from all sides. That means exposing and countering the influence of industries such as big oil, big forestry, and big grocery on our government. And I don't need to be premier to force stronger regulations on corporate lobbying of BC government officials. Stopping the oligarchs also means stopping the MAGA-backed Prince Rupert gas transmission pipeline, which does not have Indigenous consent from multiple nations on its route. We must uphold DRIPA and say no to major projects that do not have Indigenous consent. And that also means saying yes to the priorities identified by First Nations, whether that's language programs, healing centers, or infrastructure that strengthens communities rather than tearing people apart. When I started thinking about running for leader, some people cautioned me, warning about how the stamp of partisanship might close doors in my future. I think they should have considered reverse psychology because this only cemented my decision to run. I'm not here to carefully build up my political capital over the course of my career. With our movement, we're here to be bold and unrelenting in our vision and disrupt the course of BC politics. Still, I had to deal with my own insecurities. I dissuaded myself from putting my name forward. I never planned to run in an election, never mind be party leader. So initially, I called my bid for the BC Greens an experiment. But when I launched my campaign and heard from friends and allies across the province, it dawned on me that this isn't an experiment at all. It's an act of love. It's an act of solidarity. It's hope in action. It's an act of putting it all on the line before we have nothing left to lose. Surely it's not a coincidence that all of us are here today. Each of us has a purpose. We are being cheered on and held by everyone who has gone before us. We know what we need to do. What it takes is courage. I'm in front of you today, honestly, still struggling to imagine what our world will look like 5, 10, 15 years from now. But what I can imagine are the next steps we can take together. I'm offering to take the role as political party leader, but that is just one member of the team, and we need you on this team. Together, we can make this party a force of damn nature. We can be an unignorable beacon, a sharp and exciting vehicle. We can unmask the greed of the billionaire class and all the ways they harm others to grow their personal wealth. We can expose the corruption of our institutions by this unchecked wealth and power. We can build a plan to take back the public wealth that has been looted with real taxation to pay for our affordability agenda. So we can earnestly pursue renewable energy, green jobs, fight the commodification of housing, and rebuild the healthcare system. And we just need to win one more seat to hold the balance of power in the legislature. When we sit in our despair, we feel like we've lost everything. But I believe that each one of us is still worthy of love and care, and so I believe that we have everything to gain back and more. I'm still that scared, scrappy kid I was a decade ago on that Via Rail car, but I'm also that kid who punched through the stifling air of despair with real conversations, real organizing, and real solutions. I'm still brave, and I'm still fighting, and I know that we're just getting started. My name is Emily Lowan, and as your next BC Greens leader, I will continue to put everything I have on the line for our world and for our future. We are worthy of better, we are worthy of hope, and when we learn to believe that again, we can win. Thank you.